The quiet, it's deafening, isn't it? That hollow echo of absence where once there was noise. It's not just silence, it's the sound of your own breath catching up to you, realizing for the first time that no one else is listening anymore. They thought you'd come back. Oh, how they waited, perched on the edge of their fragile little expectations, certain that eventually you'd crawl through the door with your head bowed, begging for scraps of their approval. But here you are gone, no fanfare, no dramatic exit, just a clean severance like scissors slicing through thread. And now they're left holding the frayed ends, trying to stitch together what they broke. You see, people only start paying attention when it's too late. When the room empties out and all that's left is the echo of their own mistakes, that's when they panic. That's when they scramble to piece together why you didn't stay, why you didn't break under the weight of their demands. Did they underestimate you? Of course they did. You were supposed to be weak, pliable, desperate for their validation. Instead, you slipped away like smoke through their fingers. Tell me, have they started calling yet? Have they begun their pathetic attempts at reeling you back in? Or are they still sitting there stunned, wondering how someone so small could leave such a massive void? Relationships, loyalty, family. Society drills these words into us like mantras, doesn't it? Hold on tight, they say. Forgive and forget. Blood is thicker than water. What beautiful lies we tell ourselves to justify staying in places that suffocate us. Funny, isn't it? They preach forgiveness, but never teach you how to walk away from the knives lodged in your back. They tell you to nurture the leeches draining you dry, to forgive the hands that strangle you, all while whispering sweet nothings about love and duty. Love, duty. Words meant to keep you tethered, bound by invisible chains forged from guilt and obligation. But what happens when the weight becomes unbearable? When every interaction feels like drowning? When their expectations press down on your chest until you can't breathe? Do they teach you that part? Do they prepare you for the moment when the people who claim to love you become the very ones who smother you? No, of course not. Because society thrives on your weakness. It needs you tied to people, to obligations, to roles you didn't choose but were forced into playing. The moment you cut those strings, you become dangerous, unpredictable, free. And that's why they fear you now. That's why they cling to the illusion that you'll return, that you'll forgive them, that you'll let them pull you back into their web. Sentiment, the sweetest poison of all. They were there for you, they'll say. They helped you heal. You owe them. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear the rattling of those chains? That's how they keep you tethered with memories, with guilt, with the lie that history equals loyalty. But tell me, how many times have you stayed because of the past, even when the present was killing you? How many betrayals have you swallowed? How many red flags have you ignored? Simply because, once upon a time, they were kind to you. You're not holding on to people. You're holding on to ghost shadows of who they used to be, echoes of what they pretended to be. And as long as you keep looking back, you'll never see the knives they're still holding behind their backs. History doesn't make them loyal. It makes them familiar. And familiarity, that's where danger hides. So you say you're ready to let go. Are you really? It's easy to talk about cutting ties when you're angry, when the wounds are fresh and the pain is sharp. But what happens when the silence creeps in? When the phone stops buzzing, when the faces you once knew begin to fade into strangers, do you panic? Do you reach for them? Do you hesitate? If you hesitate, then you're still theirs. If you flinch, you're still bound. Because this isn't just about leaving. Anyone can walk away, but can you erase them from your mind? Can you exist without their validation? Can you look in the mirror and see only yourself, not the version of you they created? Not the person they expected you to be, but just you? If you want to be free, prove it. No nostalgia. No second guessing. No lingering in doorways that should have been slammed shut. Cut the lace. Sever the tie. And when the past calls, let it ring unanswered. Now we get to the fun part. You want out? Then listen carefully. There's a way to do this, a way to disappear without a trace. No second chances. No loose ends. No ghosts whispering in the back of your mind. Step 1. Recognize the leeches. They're closer than you think. The ones who drain you, who take and take and take until you're hollow. They smile, they laugh, they call you friend, family, partner, but their hands are always outstretched, always grasping, always pulling. Find them. You already know who they are. Step 2. Accept that walking away is an act of self-preservation, not cruelty. There it is, the hesitation, that little voice whispering, but what if I hurt them? What if they need me? Let me tell you something, they don't need you. They need your energy, your time, your obedience. And they will bleed you dry if you let them. Survival isn't cruel, it's necessary. And if it's between you and them, you already know who wins. Step 3. Burn the bridge. Don't just cut them off. Don't just fade into the background, waiting for them to pull you back in. No, no, no. Take a match and burn the bridge. Make sure there's nothing left to return, no lingering hope, no open door, just ashes. And when the smoke clears, don't turn around. Not for closure, not for apologies, not for one last glance. Because if you do, then you were never ready to leave in the first place. Or maybe you'll regret leaving. Maybe you'll convince yourself you'll never make it alone. The oldest trick in the book. Fear the invisible leash wrapped around your throat, tightening, pulling, keeping you exactly where they want you. But have you ever wondered why they need you so desperately? Why they cling to you like ivy climbing a crumbling wall, because without you, they are nothing. Without your time, your effort, your devotion, they collapse. That's why they whisper their little threats, their warnings, their prophecies of your failure. They need you weak. They need you to doubt yourself. They need you to believe that beyond them, there's nothing. But here's the truth. You were already carrying them. They weren't your safety net. They were your dead weight, clutching onto you, dragging you down, making you believe that you needed them all along. They were surviving off of you. So now tell me who really needs who. Let them fear your absence. Let them choke on it. Snip. Just like that. It's done. No grand speech. No teary-eyed goodbyes. Just silence, the kind that cuts deep. The kind that makes them realize you're never coming back. But here's the part no one warns you about, the part that separates the ones who truly walk away from the ones who still keep a toe in the door. The detox. You think you've left, but their voices are still there, aren't they? Echoing in the back of your mind. Are there doubts, their guilt, their twisted little hooks buried deep in your skin? They don't need to hold you anymore. They live inside you, a parasite, whispering their fears as if they were your own. So you cut again. Not just them, their influence, their control, their phantom presence, lingering in your decisions, your hesitations, your regrets. Because freedom, it isn't gentle, it's violent. It shatters illusions, rips off the mask, leaves only the truth. And the truth is this: you were never walking alongside them, you were dragging them. And now you walk alone, lighter, faster, unstoppable. Feels good, doesn't it? Oh, I know what's brewing inside you, the sting, the burn, that slow creeping heat that starts in your chest and spreads like wildfire. It's not sadness, not heartbreak, not grief, it's rage. They never talk about this part, do they? The fury that comes after the severance, the realization of how long they used you, how deeply they betrayed you, the anger that crackles like lightning under your skin. And now you have two choices. You can let it consume you, let it rot inside, let it turn you into another broken soul, another puppet waiting for the next master to pull your strings. Or you can forge it, turn the fire into steel. Let the betrayal sharpen you. Let the abandonment make you untouchable. They said you'd never make it alone. Good. Let them watch as you rise without them, as you become something they can't reach, can't shake, can't break. You don't heal by forgiving. You heal by becoming unstoppable. Here we are again, the promises, the apologies, the trembling voices whispering, I've changed, or I swear. Tell me, how many times have you heard that before? How many times have they sworn they'd be different, that they'd never hurt you again? That this time they mean it. And yet here you are, same betrayal, same pain, same cycle. They don't change. They only get better at deceiving you. They study you, learn what words keep you from leaving, refine their lies, sharpen their guilt traps, tailor their apologies just enough to buy time. And the moment you step back in, the moment you let your guard down snap, the mask slips, the act is over, and you're right back where you started, trapped in the illusion that they ever intended to change. But it's not their fault, is it? It's yours for believing them. They expect a storm, or they expect screams, curses, a final explosion of rage before you slam the door, because that would mean you still care. But you don't give them that satisfaction. No fireworks, no grand speeches, no parting words laced with anger. You just leave, a quiet walk away. No hesitation, no looking back, not a ghost of regret in your stride. And that's when the panic sets in. That's when they realize this isn't like before. There's no thread left to pull, no open wound to exploit, no door left to jar. Because you were never just a piece in their game. You were the foundation, the pillar, the one holding it all together. And without you, it all collapses. But don't waste your breath on revenge. Don't dirty your hands with payback. Because your absence, that is the punishment. Oh, how they'll suffer. Once upon a time, they had you on a leash. They pulled, and you followed. They snapped their fingers, and you obeyed. A pawn, a piece in their game. But pawns, they don't last long, do they? But you aren't a pawn anymore. The strings they used to pull, you've cut them. The guilt they used to chain you gone. The whispers, the manipulation, the desperate grasping hands meaningless. And now they don't know what to do with you. They watch, waiting for the old you to return, the obedient you, the soft you, the one who used to flinch at their disapproval, who used to beg for their acceptance. But you don't flinch anymore. You don't beg, you don't bend, and that terrifies them. Because now you're untamed and unreachably a force they can't control. And do you know what happens when people realize they can't control you? They respect you. You were a pawn once. Now you're the hand that moves the pieces. They thought you'd miss them. They thought sooner or later you'd reach out, that the silence was just temporary, that eventually the old you would crack under the weight of nostalgia. But the silence only grows. Their calls go unanswered. Their messages are left unread if acknowledged at all. At first, they convince themselves you're just busy, just stubborn, just angry. But days turn to weeks, weeks turn to months, and then the slow creeping realization sinks in. You're not ignoring them. You've forgotten them, and that kills them more than any revenge ever could. So this is what it feels like. No weight on your back, no chains around your ankles, no whispers in your ear telling you who to be, what to want, how to live. They used to call it freedom, but it wasn't, was it? No, it was just a longer leash. But now the leash is gone. The voices are silent. And for the first time, you decide everything. No more asking for permission. No more waiting for approval. No more shrinking yourself to fit inside their tiny little boxes. The void they left you, don't fill it with regret. You don't stuff it with longing. You fill it with your own ambition, your own hunger, your own damn life. This is the life you were meant for. One where you owe no one a damn thing. And doesn't it feel good? Oh, don't think it's over. They always come back. Curious little creatures, aren't they? Always testing the waters, tapping on the glass, seeing if the door they thought was locked might still have a crack left open. They'll come in many forms. Some will be bold, demanding, entitled. Others will be subtle, nostalgic, apologetic, playing the ghosts of memories you should have buried long ago. But the only answer they get is silence. No anger, no explanations, no second chances wrapped in pretty words. 'Cause you know the truth now, don't you? They never changed. They never will. And your past it calls for you. But you don't answer. Because it has nothing new to say. They never thought you'd really leave. They thought it was a phase, a tantrum, a bluff, something they could fix with just the right mix of guilt and sweetened lies. But now they sit in the ruins of what could have been. The phone stays silent. The door remains closed. The memories fade. And the worst part, they did this to themselves. They could have had you, but they played. They pushed. And now they watch you walk away. Not just from them, but from everything that ever tried to hold you back. Because once you learn to walk away, you become unstoppable. Let them choke on your absence. The silence grows heavier now, doesn't it? It's not just absence, it's a vacuum, pulling at the edges of their fragile little world. They thought they could patch the cracks with apologies and promises. But those were never solutions. They were just distractions. And now, as the days stretch into weeks, the weight of your absence presses down on them like gravity, reclaiming what was always meant to fall. Do you feel it? That quiet satisfaction humming beneath your skin. Good. You should. But let me tell you something they're still watching. Oh yes, they haven't given up entirely. Not yet. They sit in the wreckage of their own making, sifting through the ruins of what could have been, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Was it something they said? Something they did? Or is the truth too bitter for them to swallow? That they never truly saw you, not once. To them, you were a reflection, a mirror held up to their needs, their desires, their expectations. But mirrors shatter under pressure, and now they're left staring at the jagged pieces, wondering why they can't put you back together again. And oh, how they try. Little messages here, casual check-ins there. Just seeing how you are, they say, as if concern has suddenly replaced years of neglect or control. But you know better. These aren't gestures of love. They're fishing lines tossed into dark waters, hoping to reel you back in. Don't bite. Let them dangle those hooks in vain. Because every unanswered call, every ignored text, every door left unopened it, chips away at their illusion that they ever had power over you. Power? Number, what they had was convenience, comfort, a version of you that fit neatly into their narrative. But that is gone now. Dead. Buried. So, keep walking. Keep building. Keep rising. Let them choke on the silence while you learn to speak your own language, one they'll never understand. They'll try to rewrite history, of course. It wasn't that bad, they'll murmur to themselves, convincing anyone who will listen that you overreacted, that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But deep down, in the quiet corners of their mind where truth still lingers, they know. They know they pushed too far, took too much, assumed you'd always be there, waiting, forgiving, staying. And now, the space you once filled is hollow. A reminder of what they lost, not just you, but the version of themselves that existed only in your presence. But you don't look back. There's nothing for you there. No apologies worth accepting, no wounds worth reopening. You are not the caretaker of their regret. Let them carry it alone. Let them learn what it means to reach for something that no longer reaches back. And when they see you, oh, they will see you. Maybe it's in passing, a glimpse of you in a crowd, laughter spilling from your lips, light in your eyes they never put there. Maybe it's through whispers from others who marvel at how you've flourished, how you've soared beyond the cage they tried to keep you in. Maybe it's in their own reflection, staring back at them with the haunting realization that they are exactly where they left you, only now. They are the ones standing in the silence, drowning in the absence of someone who finally learned their worth. So let them watch, let them wonder, but never let them in. Because now you belong to yourself. There was a time when their voice lived in your head, whispering doubts, weaving insecurities into the fabric of your thoughts. But listen, really listen. Do you hear it? No, you don't. Because their voice is gone, replaced by your own. Stronger, clearer, uncompromised. And that is what unsettles them the most. They expected you to stumble, to crawl back, to realize that without them, you were nothing. But instead you rose. Not just despite them, but because of them. Every wound they left became a doorway. Every scar, a map leading you somewhere new, somewhere better. They underestimated you. And now they watch from the outside, hands pressed against the glass of a world they can't touch. They tell themselves they still have a chance, that maybe, just maybe, you'll come around. But you won't. You've outgrown the version of yourself who would have considered it. They'll call it cruel. They'll call it unfair. They'll call you heartless, selfish, ungrateful. Let them twist the story however they need to so they can sleep at night. But the truth is simple. You are free. Not just from them, not just from their expectations, but from the need to be understood by those who never truly saw you in the first place. So keep walking, keep shining, Keep building a life so full, so vast, so undeniably yours that even the thought of turning back feels like betrayal. And if the silence still lingers, let it. Not as an absence, but as a reminder. A monument to everything you survived,